for coming out and giving me a warm welcome. It is such an honor to be at Catalyst Week. I found out about it about a month ago when I first joined Red, so it's been something that I really looked forward to, and having been here the last 2 days, it's really, I guess, exceeded my expectations because of all the different people that I've met, the opportunity to always mingle with different individuals during different meals and co-working sessions. So yes, as Evelyn mentioned, I had a speech prepared for this, for my session, and I rewrote it like 3 times. And then this morning, Stuart had his talk on intrinsic motivation, and it just I guess hit on the nail kind of what I was talking, what I'm going to talk about in my speech, which is about sort of fostering great students or fostering extraordinary students in the classroom. And then just later on, just shortly before here, I had another talk with another great coworker, Sandy, and we were again talking about student motivation, how that plays a big part in how a student succeeds in a program. So part of what I wanted to share with you is kind of 2 stories, in terms of my story and how I sort of got here, and a story of a group of extraordinary students that I had a chance to teach last year. So first up, just being here is, it's so empowering, but also I feel so fortunate to have this opportunity. I come from a background probably where this is I would be the most unlikely person to stand up here and be giving a talk, simply because I come from a really sort of sheltered upbringing. Being Asian, your parents have a lot of expectations, right? Asian students are pushed, and I was lucky. I wasn't pushed in a way where other students may have been to academically excel. All I needed was just to see that my brothers were excelling and that my parents, had excelled. So it's just sort of this aura of okay, you know what? I gotta, I guess, live up to their expectations, this sort of unspoken expectations, and therefore, I guess I should, work really hard. And there was no, I guess, extrinsic motivation. It's more like an intrinsic thing that got developed, as you grow up. And also was really lucky to be around some great friends who were also quite academically inclined. So the bunch of us, we were growing up in high school, and we were so we were just allowed to grow in our bubble with some great instructors, but we were, as I said, a bubble meaning we weren't exposed to the real world, right? When you get out of high school or even go to university, you're not prepared with a lot of skills. And I just felt like it was a big shock to the system after leaving the really comfort zone of school to then get into the real world and be not having the right skills. So later on, fast forward a little bit, I had the opportunity to become an instructor. I also did freelance web and graphic design on the side. So I found my niche, right, which is funny enough, going back to school. I spent a lot of time teaching in different sort of institutions in Vancouver. And I was really lucky to find my passion early on, which is sort of teaching. And teaching in particular, something that I graduated with, which was web and multimedia. So I was really wanting to share that great experience of the courses that I did with the students. So that's why I got into teaching. I wanted to give back, right? And over the years, I've gotten, I guess, really confident in terms of the delivering of courses in the classrooms and teaching different content matter, and really it was a career that sort of fell upon me and sort of evolved over time. But what I don't get to see often is a lot of students that come into these programs that are already quite set up in terms of like being ready for the real world, right? Going back to my story of I was not ready for the real world when I got out, and I felt like there was just so many things that were lacking, but I picked those things up along the way, as I was growing up and working with different people, different places. But what we're hoping that I guess we can do at RED is to give a lot more of these skills to the students, right? We want them to get as like industry ready as possible, right? So in terms of tapping into my prior experience of teaching, really talented students, I saw that there's some sort of key things that stood out when a student came in and they were wanting to learn more. Okay, how could they get more out of it when they left the program? So a lot of the times I'll teach a group of students maybe for a month or even 3 months. And when I go and teach them and I see them evolve, when they get out of the program though, they will have a fairly good maybe portfolio of work that they're able to show. However, they may lack some of these extra skills that will make them more hireable and show the employer like, yeah, that's the one, right? So what I wanted to share with you is how this one group that I taught last year changed my whole sort of outlook on how I've been teaching and how they really made me, I guess, reflect upon my process, and it also saw that I could be a change in their learning. Like I could be a major change. Even though I had taught before, I felt like maybe I was only providing them a small piece of the puzzle, right? I was teaching them early on. I was only giving them like pieces of the puzzle. What I wanted to do was have a greater change in the students' learning experience. So with this group, I'll just kind of give you a bit of a background information. The group that I had taught was like the students had been together for about 6 months already prior. So they had lots of opportunities to work on group projects before, and they also had the time to foster a lot of friendships, right? And so that friendship base and also getting comfortable with each other, when I got to that group, they were already fairly confident. Like they weren't shy, they weren't unsure of what was going to happen. Like expectations of learning and coursework and homework, they were clear. And that's like a good way to start off, is having a group that's already like ready to go. Do you know what I mean? So knowing that, what I did was when I went into the classroom and I was supposed to teach a 12-week class, here I am standing at the front of the class and I read to them, hey, you guys are going to learn, these objectives. And then I started teaching them the class. And then they were very quiet, that first class. The first class usually is. Then the next week I came back to this class. They suddenly became very verbal, and they had a spokesperson representing this group, and they had thought it over because they'd seen how I taught, right? And they said to me, and this is the most shocking thing, they said, we already know the course objectives. We already know what you're going to teach because other instructors have taught that. And mind you, coming from them, I had been given the course outline from my department head. So I'd been said, teach this, right? And they're like, no, we already know it. We want something else. So imagine the shock of getting the tables turned, right? The students are now telling me what to do. And that's like very intimidating, absolutely intimidating. And you have to try to remain cool and calm and not just say like, what's wrong with my course, and so forth. So I sat down with them that very day and said, okay, look, let's just push all that previous stuff aside, okay? And I said to them, I'm listening, okay? What is it that you want to learn, all right? And that's where I decided, I'll go step out on a limb. I'll say, what is it that you guys really want? And their thing was they already knew web design, they already knew Photoshop, they already knew Illustrator, they knew a lot of courses that were really useful already. So what my role was is to put it all together. So after that session, what I did was I took a week, basically the moment like that class ended, I went home and I started formulating the next 10 weeks that I would have with them. And I thought, you know what, I can see what they want, and now I'm gonna throw it back at them in terms of giving them what they are really looking for. And you know what? They wanted real world projects. They wanted something that they could apply and get hired like right off the bat, you know, when they left the program. So a lot of what I did was there were assignments that I would give them on a weekly basis. So, you know, I'd expect them to hand in their assignments every week. And that also probably quadrupled my marking load because of them asking for so much. It meant that I was evaluating and having to give them back a lot more feedback than I would normally do in a normal class. But you know what? They showed me that they were up for the challenge. They showed me that they were just so like gung-ho about it, and that as a collective group, they really were different in the fact that their attitude was different, right? They were just way more motivated as a group to just want to get more out of this one course. They weren't just gonna like accept it as is. And mind you, they still had like another term to go. So it was just a huge surprise to see this group come through and have them say, you know what, we want more now, not later, right? So I just was so blown away and so inspired by their tenacity, by their optimism and their drive to just want to be better. Like they took that step that normally the instructors would be like, okay, you know what, let's do this week. We're gonna like push you along and get you to do some, you know, great projects so that, you know, you're excelled further. But now they took that in their own hands and they said, okay, we're gonna run with it. So I had projects that would contribute to their overall portfolio at the end. So there were some projects that had them do what we call like infographic resumes. I had them do project plans, had them do web style guides. It was like across the board, a lot of more higher level thinking types of assignments, rather than, okay, build me something using the pen tool, right? So it's just sort of like, I needed to get on a much higher level with them because they were obviously there, you know, in their heads. They were so ready, they were primed to go. So sometimes when I saw that and I felt it and I got feedback each class, it was so great to see them respond to the assignments, the new assignments that I came up with for them. They just lapped it up and they gave me back these amazing projects, which in turn just sort of like, my goodness, you know, I guess I'm doing something right by fostering that and encouraging them, but also challenging them when I saw that they were ready for it, right? It wasn't just sort of like take the easy way, give them all the easy stuff and, you know, let them pass the course. I felt like it could really, you know, I could make a difference to this group. So at the end, really, they came out with like a really strong portfolio, I think stronger than they would normally do if they followed the regular course. And what I really noticed was what helped in that higher level of the program that they got out of it was just the feedback that I was able to do. So I gave them a lot more feedback. I did a lot of one-on-ones with them. And from that, they were able to take that, you know, that great, the feedback, the critical feedback, and apply it back into their own work. So they're plowing it back in right away. Right? And from that, I mean, it's really, when they left the program, I felt so hopeful. I felt hopeful that they could really, you know, enter the real world as ready as possible. And as I said, they left that lasting mark on me that not only could, you know, they could inspire change in instructors, but the instructors, if you're listening, you're adaptable, and you can see what they want, just adjust. Right? Be agile, okay? Be open to their needs, right? And sometimes you have to break the mold. And even if it breaks the school mold, I took that leap of faith and and I got back some amazing results. So that's really my story that I wanted to share with you guys about, how to motivate some great students in the classroom.